Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are at game number 2 between Acer Elfi and Stephano. This time we are here on Shakur's Plateau, spawning in the lower right-hand position, our Blue Zerg player Stephano, and the loser of last game, unfortunately. And the winner of last game over here in the lower left-hand spawn position, our Red Protoss player, Acer Elfi. This is game 2 here in the series between these two players, and Elfi, what did he do last game? Forge Fast Expand into a attempted drop, which didn't do much at all. And then he just moved out with a Sentry Heavy push. It was Sentry Heavy, Stalker Heavy, thrown in with some Immortals. And as we saw, very, very strong push last game from Elfi. Ended up, basically, because of the choke points on the map, making it so Stephano really couldn't engage his force. He just could not do it. There was no way he could protect that third. He was not going to be able to engage such a Sentry Heavy force. Force Field Walls pretty much made that impossible. And then we just saw Elfi walk up into his natural expansion and pretty much do the same thing. Now Stephano did delay that quite a bit with some spines, but wasn't able to prevent it from killing him. And that was unfortunately a pretty quick loss there off of 2 bases for our buddy Stephano. We'll see how this game ends up playing out. Elfi moving up there with the Probe Scout, looking for the pool, not spotting the pool, just like we saw in last game. We will now be seeing him do some harass down here. Again, force that pool first. Harass and delay that natural expansion from going down. And if Stephano tries to do the same thing he did last game and come out in that third position with his expansion instead, that's quite risky on this map. A small 2-base push with a couple of force fields, just basically like last game. Much more potent on this map though. As you can see, it doesn't take a lot of force fields. He could push much earlier with a much smaller force and drop this third with that. Of course, then Elfi risks losing those units once that force field wall off does drop, but taking out the expansion could very well be worth it. But we'll see. I have no idea how that's going to look at that. Oh my gosh, unfortunately for Elfi, a little bit of a miscue there ends up actually allowing that natural expansion to go down. Definitely not what he had hoped to do. Stephano, a very, very good play there, spotting the exact perfect time for him to come out with his expansion as that probe was just barely out of position. Stephano with his Overlord will be scouting out this full wall off here. We got that Forge coming through. Gateway is here as well. Spawning pool now finished. We will just be seeing 2 Zerglings come out. 1 Queen also in production. We will be seeing another Queen after that here for that natural expansion, of course. Elfi free to sit at this tower up until the point that those Lings make their way across the map. And there you go, Stephano with his Overlord scouting that there is not yet a cannon, and then now he will finally see. All right, so there's a cannon coming through there. Nothing that he can really do, though. He's not actually going to be able to push out against that. He'll just be able to sit here at the ramp, but that's about it. Probe actually sneaking past the Zergling here, and he will be moving up for some secondary scouting. Let's see how Stephano tries to delay this from happening. He's got his Queen here, and look at this, actually. The Probe is going just straight for the scout of the third, and Stephano has expanded here, so Elfi will now be fully aware of this. You now know Stephano is doing the same style of play that we saw last game with that very, very quick third. And with that, of course, we will be seeing no gas and a lot of droning up for quite a while, as he is going to want to saturate that, get that up and running to get his nice and strong economy. So let's keep an eye as to what Elfi decides to do this game. When the Cybernex core is finished, we should be seeing that next step. Of course, we'll be seeing immediately that Warp Gate research come on through, but it's after that what we're going to want to pay attention to. Is it going to be a Stargate? Will we be coming out with a Robo? Is he getting weapons level 1 upgrade and a ton of gateways? Those are really the options that we are likely to see from him. So let's see what he ends up deciding to do. It is a Stargate. Decides to mix it up here. Coming out with a Stargate, opening up with some Air Harass, Void Ray, and Phoenix Harass. Of course, very, very effective. Could be more so here, especially against Stephano in not having a lot of gas early on. His only real defense will be Spore Crawlers plus Queens, so unless he starts to go Queen heavy, he might struggle against this early harass here. Could be very, very tough indeed. Probe Scout moving by again, pushing here towards the third. Is he just confirming that it went through? I'm guessing yes. He wants to be 100% sure. He didn't see it finish, he just saw it building, so he wants to confirm, and there it is. Gets the confirmation that that base is done, and again, with no gas early on, Stephano doesn't have that metabolic boost. That has not even started, as you can see here. Just starting to work up his Vespene at that main. And a second Stargate. Acer Elfi coming out with some very heavy early game air harass. The first Void Ray getting chrono boosted out. He will not be getting much else but air units early on. You simply cannot afford it. 2 Stargates pumping out Void Rays. That is very, very costly indeed. And he, again, will not be able to afford much else than this. But man, oh man, this is going to take Stephano by surprise. I'm a little bit worried for him if he's going to be able to defend against this. He's got a Roach Warren coming out now, just starting his lair. He does only have 3 queens. That is 1 for each base. No extra queens for dropping any creep tumors and spreading that creep, but more importantly, no extra queens to deal with this air harass that will be coming through. More and more Void Rays coming out. Yes, I am very concerned right now for Stephano. Very, very concerned indeed. He is starting that creep spread over here, as you can see. Still no additional queens. Again, he just doesn't have the faintest here. Hasn't moved in a Sacrificial Overlord Scout yet to check for production buildings in the main, and that may prove to be a mistake. 2 voids in play, 2 more about to come out, and more queued up as well. He'll be moving out with his initial 4. Spots the Void Rays with the Overlord, immediately dropping some spores, as he's going to need to do. So many spores getting dropped down. He should be coming out with some additional queens as well. So many spores, 5 spore crawlers coming through. A couple of queens, the lings and roaches won't be doing much at all. But this, again, is very heavy pressure early on. He's got 2 more queens in production. He knows he needs that. 100% needs it. Just going to engage his queens, taking some damage from the spores. Ending up losing a void. That was unnecessary. He could have pulled away with that. Queen retreating to the safety there of those spores, but still he's got the opportunity to hit this expansion and everything. Spores lifting up, going to the natural right now. He's got more queens coming out. Hydroden also coming out here as well. He'll be trying to defend himself with some Hydras once that finishes, but there's going to be a bit of harass in the meantime. Transitioning into a robotics facility back at home. He might go straight up into some Colossus, which would be a great counter to those Hydras. Acer Elfi just going to do as much damage as possible. And he's actually, he is ahead just slightly right now. He's also only killed off 1 worker, so he hasn't done a ton of damage yet, but he's going to start taking out this tech, and that will be a problem. He's going straight for that Roach Horn. The rerouting, I guess that's what I'll call them, Spore Crawlers forces him back, though. And then just 1 Void at home to defend, plus that Sentry and Cannon. That's actually going to be more than enough. Elfi now retreating. And coming out actually with, breaks through the front wall. He drops the force field a bit late. A couple Lings going to make it up in the main. This is going to allow him to spot the gateway heavy transition here. We do also have a War Prism coming through. These Zerglings should be taken care of, although they were able to do a little bit of damage. And there we go. We got a bunch of Hydras here. A bunch of Hydras just to deal with the possibility of those Void Rays. But again, gateway heavy. That War Prism, also a Phoenix. He's going to be warping in a few Zealots to start. I want to see what that War Prism's going to do. He's going, just pick up the Zealots, take the Phoenixes with the Void Rays, and he's going to continue up this push using that War Prism to take all of these Warp Gates and warp into the main here of Stephano. And Stephano, oh boy, he's going to be worried about this. It's coming. Void Ray, Phoenix, Warp Prism drop. The Warp Prism is sitting over here, finally mobilizing. All those gateways now turned into Warp Gates. A bunch more Phoenixes coming out. Quite an interesting push here from Elfi. Now, with not a lot of Hydras, you can actually lift those off with Phoenixes and take them out pretty quickly, especially if he gets some Warp-ins over here. But what is he doing? He's retreating now. He's pulling back. Is he going to try to meet these forces in the center of the map? Looks like that might be the case. Yeah, it's just going to take some map control right now. Warping in here. Instead of trying to warp in straight to the main, he's now just warping in the center of the map and going to take his forces into this position. A few more Void Rays now coming out. Such an air-heavy build here early on. There we go. He got some more Zealots. Got some Sentries. We'll continue to warp in here with this mobile Warp Prism. There we go. A few more warp-ins. Zealot heavy besides his Air Force. And then those Sentries, of course, to drop some Guardian Shield, which will help tremendously against the Hydras. And of course, we've got those Phoenixes that will be used to lift off a few of those high-priority threatening units. Map control going to Elfi at the moment. Stephano has had more and more time to build up his forces, and this is actually going to make it so Stephano does have a chance here to defend against this. I was worried that that drop going to the main would have been really devastating, but Elfi decided to buy some time until he gets a weapons level 1 upgrade, and here we go, just about to finish. A couple of force fields going down. He is going to want to drop some Guardian Shield, but he doesn't have enough energy to do so. Roaches and Hydras pulling forward. That's going to overwhelm everything that Elfi has here in the center of the map. Oh my gosh. That is it. Now we still got the Void Rays though. And there aren't a lot of Hydras left. He does still have those Void Rays, but the Spore Crawlers plus the Queen's going to be able to do a bit of damage there. And Elfi just leaves the game. Elfi ends up losing game number 2, opening up with some Void Ray Harass, and then moving into Void Ray Phoenix, Zealot Heavy with a few Stalkers and Sentries. Ends up getting met here and overwhelmed in the center of the map by Stephano and loses game number 2. Now I only have 2 replays here from this series. I'm not sure if it was a best of 3 or if these were just 2 individual games played by these 2 players. Nevertheless, hopefully you did enjoy the games. As always, if you like the content, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, guys. Keep watching and keep owning.